Dark Phoenix has the worst opening in X-Men history. That is the headline on this week's MBE Heroes. And what a depressing start to the show, John. This headline comes in from Variety.com. Depressing, but not unexpected.
It's not unexpected, Stephen. Obviously, prior to this movie's release, a couple of months prior, in actual fact, the rumours were that obviously the studio was a bit embarrassed by this movie. The early screeners weren't going off well with obviously test audiences. They weren't liking what they were seeing. The movie was reshot.
That's right, yeah.
They says the ending was reshot because of similarities to another superhero movie which was out round about the time. How much you believe that? We actually spoke about that.
Yeah.
There could be a degree of truth in that, but I think they actually just reshot some of it, Stephen, because it's probably a little bit underwhelming. Because I've since watched I've not seen the movie yet. No. I've watched the likes of Jeremy Janssen and whatnot discussing it in their movie reviews, and he actually says, I don't know if it was Jans or Stuckman, but one of them says it may have been Stuckman actually, not Jans. He absolutely tore into it. Stuckman, not so much. I'm not talking about these other guys, I digress. But he says something very interesting, that train sequence, the sequence with the train and hugging in, and kind of a wrecking shot, obviously Dark Phoenix, that was entirely reshot. That was a completely different part of the movie, and it was very jarring watching the movie. It felt like a completely different movie. So again, I'm not too surprised, Stephen. Armed with that knowledge prior to its release, I wasn't expecting this to do very well. Was I expecting it to have a lower Rotten Tomatoes rating from the critics, and then X-Men Wolverine Origins? No, or X-Men Origins Wolverine?
Yeah.
No, I did not expect that. I thought it would do a little bit better than that in terms of ratings. But look, it's a shame. It's gone out with a whimper. I've seen one headline say.
Yeah, I think so.
Until I see the movie itself, I can't really speak.
No.
I've seen other people saying it's not as bad as it's been made out to be. That it is, again, more like a mutant movie than an actual X-Men movie. But it's getting enjoyable elements in there. But it's just outweighed with the...
It's a shame, John, because I think with Days of Future Past, they did sort a lot of the sort of inconsistencies out. Yeah. It's a shame because... You know, I've been a follower of this franchise since 2000. That first X-Men film came out. Loved the second one, X-Men 2, or X2. That's probably my favourite one from that cast. When you're getting that crossover between the new cast and the old cast, X-Men, Days of Future Past is my favourite.
Yeah.
The Last Stand was so disappointing. Days of Future Past kind of sorted that out itself. You could be forgiven to just, you know, skim by that one. But that new batch of cast as well that came in 2011, I think it was, for first class film.
It was
Kevin Bacon
absolutely incredible.
Playing the great Sebastian Shaw. What a great villain he was.
He really was.
And just seeing these characters develop and becoming who they would become was fantastic. Big ask as well for these actors to come in and step into the shoes of the likes of Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen. But they managed it, you know. I thought that Michael Fassbender was an excellent Magneto. James McAvoy was fantastic as Professor X. And then you get the likes of Jennifer Lawrence. I think this might have been the first time I saw her in film.
It would have been, probably.
And I thought she was excellent
Stephen,
as well.
Fassbender.
Yeah,
Inglourious Bastards aside, this is probably one of his breakthrough roles when he went into First Class. And you're right.
And just having that, the chemistry with them as well just worked from the kick-off. We move into Days of Future Past, as I said. It's probably my favourite film of them all. And then a slight dip with, what's that one with Oscar Isaac? Apocalypse. Yeah. There's a slight dip in quality,
still not seen it, Steve.
But it was always going to be struggling when the movie before it was Days of Future Past, which was such a flawless film. This film, it's so sad to see because I did like this batch of actors playing these characters, and this is probably how they're going to be remembered now, sadly.
Yeah, Stephen, I can't recall what the saying is, but it's something like, I think it's a TV show saying, basically, if you hang around so long, you're either going to go out with a whimper or you're going to go out with a bang.
Yeah.
If you keep a hold of these characters and the younger portrayals for so long, eventually it's just going to go out with an absolute whimper. And that's what's happened here. We've had numerous movies. I actually laughed though because another thing that just again shines a light on just how much of a great job Kevin Feige and Marvel Disney have done with their MCU. there's been, I think, 12 movies, the X-Men movies, I think, round about that mark, in 19 years.
Right, okay.
And it's been a mixed bag in terms of quality.
Yeah.
Again, it just shows you how good a job they have done with the MCU. 22, I think, or 23 movies in 11 years.
Yeah.
It is extraordinary.
A
It will
short time
never,
period,
ever be topped again, Steve, in
No.
this run for comic book movies. But just, we're not talking about the MCU, we're talking about X-Men. Soon they will be part of the MCU, I'm absolutely sure about that. But it's just an absolute travesty, Stephen, to see these great portrayals of these characters getting out in this manner. I was really rooting for it. I hoped it would be a fantastic sort of a send-off for the likes of McAvoy, Fassbender, Lawrence, even Sophie Turner, who's come in and probably done a great job. I actually didn't watch Apocalypse, as I did say.
Yeah.
I've not seen any of her.
Well, she was introduced in Apocalypse, John. I don't
and
know.
also Nicholas Holt's Beast.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't forget him.
You know, and Quicksilver as well.
Quicksilver.
A great character.
It really is.
But
Better
yeah,
than that.
you're absolutely right, John. I think it is a shame, but there was always that sense as well that these new films with the new cast, I always felt like they didn't have a lot of confidence going forward with them, that they had to keep going back to Hugh Jackman to make some kind of cameo appearance. He did it in First Class. That was quite a good scene.
Was a great,
bar scene. And also there was a cameo in Apocalypse as well, where we're getting to see him in the 1980s as well. It was a totally pointless scene. There was no need for him to be there, but it just showed that they didn't have as much confidence in carrying these films with the new cast without him. Yeah. Which was sad to see.
Yeah, it's just because of how great that character is, though, Stephen, and just his attitude and that charisma that he has. He just demands respect and presence when he comes on. He has such great presence when he comes on to the screen. As I said, though, it's a real shame that it's not doing so well. They do say here there's one potential saving grace, and that it hasn't opened in all of the international markets, or perhaps any international market yet. So it may yet scrape out perhaps something, maybe break even. I don't think it is, though, because the word of mouth is not doing it any favours. No. It's getting panned, as I did say. It's got a worse rating than Origins.
Was it not the Wolverine, John, 2013?
No, I think it's definitely Origins. Yeah, because I've seen it.
I can believe that, because that was absolute guff.
But it's way below that, and that's terrifying. I don't believe it's that bad. As I did say, the likes of Poy Andrew, who does Heroes for Collider, and all of these different people, I respect these people's opinions when it comes to heroes, or superhero movies, I should say. Yeah. And he says that it's not as bad as some people are making out. It's not an absolutely outstanding movie by any means, but it's got elements in there that are worthy of going to see it in a big screen, and you'll get some enjoyment if you're an X-Men fan and you've been following these stories.
That's one of the reasons we're not really commenting too much on the film. It's more of the performance at, at the box office.
We've not seen it yet.
Because we've not seen it yet, but I'm sure we will give our views on that as the weeks roll merrily forward. But we'll move on, John, to our next article. This is DC's Black Adam movie has found its director, possibly. It does say in this article that Warner Brothers and DC want Jaume Collet Serra. I think I pronounced it right. I think I've said this guy's name before when I did an audio review for The Commuter, John, which he did direct. What do you make of this? I'm just glad to see we're finally getting something about this character, and the production of this looks like it's ready to, the wheels are starting to, roll forward for this one. We know that Dwayne Johnson is obviously cast as Black Adam in it as well. There was talk about him possibly appearing in Shazam. Sadly, he didn't, but maybe that's not a bad thing. No. It's good to see that they've got a faith in keeping these characters separate at the moment. It's a good way. It's unusual for DC to do this because for their past.
Mark Strong was a good antagonist as well. So
I thought he was great. And there obviously in Shazam there was reference to Black Adam character as well. Yes. From the Wizard character, I think it was. Might be wrong there.
There was. There was. They made a reference to it, Stephen. I think it was something about he was originally the champion that he'd selected, or something along those lines. They actually mention it in the article, but it's right at the start when obviously I forget what the actual little guy that eventually turns into Shazam in the movie, what he's called. It's been a while since I've seen it. But it says to him, he was originally was it him or was it when Mark Strong went? I think it was when the little guy went.
Billy
Batson, I'm looking right at it. Absolutely shocking. When he goes in to obviously meet the original, the Wizard, as you said, he makes a reference to it. I'm delighted to say, Stephen, just as you did say, that obviously Dwayne Johnson is starting to move, starting to gather some momentum with this movie, and it's going to start getting into production at some point. I think next year. I think it says 2020.
2020,
so
John.
Probably be a 2021 release. I would have thought.
Well, they do say it's coming out possibly the same year as the Batman.
Yeah, the Batman. So yeah. So I'm just glad to see we're finally starting to get the ball rolling with this movie, because I cannot wait to see Dwayne playing this character. I think he's tailor-made for it. You look at the image there of the character. He's like a darker Shazam. And that would play into the Wizard also saying I originally selected him as a champion, but then he had nefarious sort of a acts within him, or he went off to do something dodgy with the power, and it's like a darker version, similar suit. Cannot wait to see the Dwayne playing him. What do I make of this director? Stephen out with The Commuter and Jungle Cruise, which also starred Dwayne Johnson and Emily Blunt. I don't know much about the guy, so I can't really speak with a degree of confidence. I really enjoyed The Commuter though. Thought it was a great little action movie with some thriller elements in there, because he's obviously rushing around trying to find out who's involved in this. I think it was like somebody left a briefcase and then they challenged him to pick out, it was some woman, wasn't it, challenged him to pick out who was up to something. I can't remember, it's been a while since I've seen it, but it was a good movie anyway. He did a good job directing it, although how much you really need to do with Liam Neeson in an action movie these days, it remains debatable. It must be very easy to direct that guy in those sort of movies, because he's just tailor-made to it. Yeah. But what I guess, it's a similar thing here. Yeah. Bringing Dwayne Johnson into this type of setup, this type of genre, he's going to have an easy time. The guy's just the absolute epitome of professionalism. He'll come in and he'll just work his absolute balls off 24/7 for the director. So I'm semi-pleased. Yeah. He's done the genre before. He's worked with Dwayne before. They've got a good relationship. Could we see, who else could come on board? Could we see perhaps Emily Blunt coming back to rejoin Dwayne? I doubt it. I think she's busy with obviously A Quiet Place too and whatnot. So
you never know, John, but it's good to see another former wrestler, you know, stepping into the comic book genre, just like Dave Bautista. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm interested in the character, but obviously the casting of Dwayne Johnson as well intrigues me even more.
We actually spoke about that though, Stephen, didn't we? Just how intriguing it is for DC to go down this route. They've started it with the Joker, Joaquin Phoenix. Now they're doing it again. They're going down this sort of a villainous story, telling an antagonist story before getting in and maybe introducing them into the sort of a timeline with Shazam and seeing them facing off. It's different. I like seeing them doing it.
I think keeping them separate as well. After thinking about it, I'm glad they're doing that. They just need to pace themselves a little bit better, DC, and I think that's what they're doing now. But listen, we'll move on to the next article, John. This comes in from wegotThiscovered.com. I think we've been here before, but Hawkeye rumoured to appear in the Black Widow movie. One of the things that I did enjoy about this article, John, was the reference about Budapest. We saw it mentioned, I think, in the first Avengers film, Assemble, and definitely heard it in Endgame as well, that I think they're trying to put pieces together in this article and make some kind of reference to that and some connection as well. Could we possibly see, Clint Barton and Natasha Romanoff meeting for the first time in this prequel? Interesting enough, John, we spoke about this, was it last week on Heroes?
We spoke about it a couple of times,
It was the video footage that was
in Norway.
Supposed to be Scarlett Johansson, but we weren't convinced it was.
No chance.
We did talk about this, and we did mention, and we did beg a question, would Hawkeye appear in this? It would make sense if he did, but the timeline in this article is a little bit different from that previous one. They said it was going to be set around about the time of Civil War. This is going to be, according to this article, it's going to be set in the 1990s.
Yeah, I think it says it would be set in between Civil War and I think Age of Ultron. So that was a very distinctive timeline, and I was scratching my head and wondering how that would work. It can't be much of a origin story for the Natasha Romanoff character if it's set in a period.
This makes more sense, John.
Yeah, well, we already know, and we've seen it in numerous films and portrayals. So you're right, Stephen, this does make more sense. I'm going back to the 1990s to delve into the character. Obviously, her backstory is incredibly interesting from what I've heard. I presume it's been fleshed out in the comics. I've not read them, but from what I take, it's much like, from what I've heard, it's much like Red Sparrow, where she's part of a sort of a Soviet Union setup, USSR, super spy organisation, and she then defects. She becomes fed up with it, defects to S.H.I.E.L.D. And they actually say that she's a former Russian assassin, ended up turning over a new leaf and defecting to S.H.I.E.L.D. So it's very much like, as I did say, Red Sparrow, where she becomes fed up, ends up having a relationship with I think it's a CIA agent or something like that, and becomes embroiled with that, and then decides she's fed up with the Russian overlords telling her what to do. This is similar. We touched upon it as well before we came on, Stephen. You are going to see the likes of Nick Fury once again, or perhaps Agent Coulson, with the de-aging technology, because it has to be there if they're part of S.H.I.E.L.D. and it's going to show her defecting to S.H.I.E.L.D. We have to see them again. So that's going to be very interesting. We've seen how he was then, how he sort of interacted with obviously Veers, aka Carol Danvers. So it'll be intriguing to see how he gets on with Natasha, because she's quite an abrasive figure at times before she slowly softens and we get to know her as a character as the MCU progressed. So it'll be intriguing to see this character when she's younger, what she's getting up to. But I digress, I'm going off on a massive tangent. This isn't even about that, Stephen. It's about Hawkeye perhaps being rumoured to appear in the movie.
Yeah.
It's not about hugging off and defecting.
Well, to be fair, there's not much in the article.
Yeah, there isn't. Yeah, you have to go off on a slight
other
tangent.
than that connection about Budapest, John. But
I'm absolutely. I want to see Clint. More of Clint's right up my street. I absolutely think Jeremy Renner's a great actor.
It doesn't look like they're finished with the character anyway. But
no.
I think the 1990s would make more sense as well, because I did think that as well. I thought that's not leaving a lot of room to really establish this character. Find out our background. And Hawkeye as well, just to find out more about where they came from. And I thought it was not a good starting point for these characters to place them in that time period.
Yeah.
The 1990s, we can go back and establish these characters on their first meeting, how they developed a relationship. It will also add weight to those scenes in Endgame as well, because we don't really know much more than they've got a lot in common with Budapest, which was referred to in those two films. Apart from that, there's not much to go on. And this might actually add more emotional weight to those sort of scenes we got in
Vormir.
Yeah.
Not just that, though, Stephen, in the actual Avengers complex as well, when I don't know who it is that comes in, it may be War Machine.
No, it was Captain America.
Captain America.
Yep.
Yeah, he gives reports about what...
Sorry, it was War Machine.
War Machine gives
it was a hologram of War Machine,
gives reports about what obviously he's up to, Clint. And that's one of the more emotional moments from, obviously, the Natasha character, Black Widow. You can see it's actually affecting her.
She's well
seeing a good friend, or perhaps an romantic figure, an ex-flame, whatever, going off in this dark descent down into sort of a madness. He's not handled losing his family and his young children, and he's obviously turned into an absolute monster. He's slaughtering people left, right and centre. So it really hit her hard. She wanted to go and obviously have a sort of a standoff and drag him back into the light, which we see in the movie later on. So it would be great. It would add more emotional resonance.
Endgame really was the first time we saw that connection between both of them, and the Russos seem to emphasise it quite a bit in the film. So that suggests to me that he is going to appear in this film, John. But listen, we'll move on to our second last. I've just closed it down, but it is certainly the one with Robert Downey Jr.'s ad-libbing that scene with Captain America. It's a liar scene. We all know it. It's, he came back to Earth malnourished, a little bit out of his tree, as we know. In that confrontation between him and Steve Rogers, it's one of the standout sequences at the very beginning as well. Establishes that connection and the relationship between the two of them at that point. They hadn't. I don't think they had any screen time.
No, that was the first time they'd met after Civil War.
Yeah, they did sort of touch on it, and
it was Doctor Strange, I think, when he came through the portal.
That's right. Yep.
With obviously Bruce Banner. He says, "Did you not call Tony?" And he's like, "No," or something.
There's that sort of long pause, wasn't there? That awkwardness. But you're right, John. Since Civil War, this was the first time both of them sort of had this conversation, and. I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but Robert Downey Jr., this is what he's very good at doing, and I think as well, from a director's point of view, they feel very privileged to have that kind of talent on board as well, where something that may be down on paper and written down on paper might look good on a script, but Robert Downey Jr., the way he can deliver lines and he can throw in little ad-lib bits, changes the whole script. And for the Russos to give him that freedom, and Robert Downey Jr. to pull it off as well. I think they said in this article they only did it maybe 2 or 3 times this scene.
It shows the talents
the talents of the man. The I Love You 3000 was something that was off the cuff as well. It's so quotable now, but this shows the acting range of Robert Downey Jr. Says further down in the article as well that Disney be making a push for Robert Downey Jr. to be involved in the nominations for the Academy Awards next year. I hope so, because I do think that he put his heart and soul onto this performance. He's always been a very good Tony Stark, but in Endgame, he just took it to another level. There was something I was going to mention as well, John. I know it's not in the article, but I think it was Robert Downey Jr. that actually made the decision not to speak shows the power of the man. He decided not to speak in the dying scenes as well.
Yeah.
He let the other characters or the other
And it
actors
works.
have their moments. They were the ones
Said
showing
goodbye.
the grief
Yeah.
and showing the emotion. Just so much of the pain of him dying, what he's had to go through, and he's just sitting there dying and just looking blankly. But I think it worked, and I think he made the right decision. I'm glad the Russos allowed him that decision as
Yeah,
well.
and also Pepper Potts says, Stephen, in that scene when he's dying, you're at peace now, you can rest, because there's a great sequence prior to that, after he's cracked time travel, where he says, she basically says, you'll never be able to rest, you'll always wanting to go off and do something. So when he obviously does that ultimate sacrifice, and he's lying there quiet and he can't really speak, she says that to him. So there was a great bit of symmetry there, so I really enjoyed that. In terms of this, it doesn't surprise me that you ad-libbed it, Stephen. Again, I thought it was great the way that they handled that gap between Civil War and this movie in general. The way they sort of touched upon it, and obviously Ant-Man and the Wasp, where he's under house arrest. There's obviously repercussions for what's happening in that movie. It's continued on. These guys that sided with Captain America and obviously Bucky didn't get off scot-free, they were punished. No. And then we've seen that ramification again continue with obviously Hawkeye. Clint, he's obviously under house arrest, and that means that he's not able to have a role in Infinity War. And then again we see here, there's ramifications. The relationships have been damaged to a certain extent, and they've not been forgiven. And you see that beautifully at the start of this movie with the two of these guys facing off. Old friends, he's saying, I was there, and you says you'd always be there, we'd do it together. I needed you the most, you weren't there. I'm obviously, I'm not saying absolutely bang on, paraphrasing, but look, it was a beautiful scene. Again, it does prove how good an actor he is. Everybody knows he's a great actor anyway, but just for this character, this was the absolute sort of a peak Tony Stark for me, just the absolute best performance he's delivered. I thought he absolutely smashed it. He was the emotional linchpin. He thoroughly deserves to have an Oscar nomination. I don't think he'll win, because obviously the Academy are far too snooty about comic book movies and also the characters within to ever lower themselves to actually watch a cash-grabbing movie. They'll not lower themselves and actually go and watch it and perhaps surprise themselves by the content within. So I don't expect him to win an Oscar, but I think he thoroughly deserves to be nominated, and it's for things like this. The I Love You 3000, the ad-libbing a whole sequence in the movie where he's given such a performance where he has to perhaps only do it once or twice because he's so emotionally drained. He's putting that much into it. And it really did pay off, Stephen, because it really set the tone for that movie going forward. And then when they finally do make up and they have that great moment when he's screeching in, are we okay or something like that, or are we good now, and they shake hands, that's them back on board. A one cohesive unit, and then they go off and try to defeat Thanos once and for all. I thought it was a beautiful performance. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see where Robert Downey Jr. goes now after obviously stint as Tony Stark. But
maybe Tony Stark again in the TV show. Okay, who knows? It's an alternate timeline.
I doubt it, John. I think that was his swan song. But listen, we'll move on to our final article. This is the final article coming in from comicbook.com, and it's X-Men star Famke Janssen would consider returning as Jean Grey. What do you make of this, John? I actually don't know where this came from. I think she was actually had an interview with Variety, but the question, she was asked if she might consider it. She did say, if someone asked me, I might consider it. So
nobody's going to ask you. Nobody's going to ask you. That's what I'll say, Stephen. Famke, it's not going to happen. Sorry. Your time as Jean Grey, as Dark Phoenix, is gone. It is done.
Yeah.
They are moving these characters into the MCU, probably not in the next 5 years, but certainly within the next decade, these characters will become interspersed within the MCU as we know it. So it's not going to happen. What do I make of it? Much like we said last week on Movie News, Stephen, when we were discussing the potential Friends reunion movie, these characters, these actors and actresses wouldn't have been interested in this a decade ago.
No.
But now that the ship has sailed, perhaps they want to come back and get a slice of it. Now that they know comic book movies are a very successful business. It just reminds me of David Duchovny in the late 90s, early 2000s, when he was done with Fox Mulder, wanted to go off and be a movie star, and it blew up in his face and he had to come back.
It was good for us.
It was, because I love Fox Mulder and I love David Duchovny. I'm not putting him down. He's a great guy. But look,
I think Famke Janssen, though, John, is she's left a good legacy with that character anyway. I don't think there's any need to go back and do it again. But you're right, I don't think it's going to happen now. I think X-Men after this movie, I know we're getting the New Mutants, or are we? who knows? We'll see where that goes. But
Will Maisie Williams star in the X-Men movie?
I think they're going to give that franchise a rest for a few years. I think they're going to concentrate on the Fantastic Four. We did mention this a few weeks ago. And I think when they do get around to, you know, rebooting this franchise, it's going to be a whole new cast anyway. But as I said, you know, I think I've grown to, you know, really enjoy her version of the character anyway. It was sad, obviously, The Last Stand. She did mention that they sort of just touched upon the character in that film. It didn't really explore it too much, which I kind of agree with. You know, I think they didn't really give the character too much development by that point. But the character in the first two X-Men film, I thought she was great. I thought Janssen was fantastic as Jean Grey. And she had some great scenes with Hugh Jackman and I can't remember that guy's name. I always forget him. He played Scott Summers, but I always forget his nim.
I always forget his name as well, Stephen. He's just a bit of a git. That's the best thing. That's the politest way I can call it. Just an arsehole to obviously Hugh Jackman in that movie.
Yeah, he's so
Wolverine,
insecure,
Logan.
And anyone would be up against Hugh Jackman, but listen...
Total inferiority complex.
I don't think it's going to happen. But listen, this brings us to the end of this week's MBE Heroes. We'd just like to thank you once again for joining us, and we will be back again tomorrow with MBE Movie News.